one of the most important first questions that I'm going to ask an entrepreneur that's trying to hit big goals is, do you really need strategy? Do you need more information and knowledge on the strategic part? Or if you're being honest, is it about your own personal habits? In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some really important data and take you through the process that I guide founders, entrepreneurs, and CEOs through to create massive personal and business change. My name's Simon Lovell. I specifically help over 30-year-old entrepreneurs grow and scale their businesses by helping them with the personal development side of things. I also write some of the top trending articles for entrepreneur.com, and I'm really excited to share this data with you. So this information has come from a group of around 100 entrepreneurs. Now, these entrepreneurs span different levels of income and also different stages of business. So they are new entrepreneurs. Some, for example, run $100 million companies as CEOs. Others are Olympians turned real estate agents. Others are internet marketers. But there are some common themes, and I think that you may resonate with some of these if you're watching this video. So the initial question, now this is going into the process, okay? Now this is not all of the answers because there's about 42 questions, but I've taken the most prominent ones. So the first one is areas of procrastination. The top 3 answers in order of, most important and the biggest reactions essentially. Number 1, business tasks. Number 2, health. And number 3, learning, right? So overall education, and they're putting off just working on themselves. Number 2, what did they feel is missing most in their lives? Number 1, and this was by far the biggest, connection. And what you'll notice is that these answers also play into other questions that I asked during this onboarding. The second, purpose, and the third, health. So what they felt was most missing in their lives. The next one, limiting beliefs. Number 1, fear of failure. Number 2, guilt. And number 3, self-doubt. The next one, emotional blocks. What is blocking them emotionally? Number 1, fear, not a surprise. Number 2, shame. And then the next one, guilt. So things that have happened in the past, unresolved things that are now causing problems in their own personal lives and also in their business. The next one, their biggest fears. Doesn't surprise me here and may not surprise you. Fear of failure, fear of success, and also fear of judgment. The next one, what control were they seeking in their lives? Number 1, of finances. Number 2, of time. And number 3, just overall business. The next one, their desires. What did they desire the most? Number 1, personal growth. Of course, this segment and this group, by nature of coming to me, they're going to be interested in that. So I just want to pre-frame that. The next one, in terms of desires, focus. So scatterbrain, right? They want to be focused so they can take more action. And the next one, discipline. Top addictions. Now, this also plays in the link with connection, because what happens is if we're desperately seeking connection, we're going to unhealthy soothe in certain ways. So the top one, by far, alcohol. The next one, drugs. I've been through this personal journey myself. I know what it's like. And also smoking. In fact, all of those for me were very strong and caused a lot of relationship problems. The next one, top habits that they wanted to change. Procrastination. The next one, exercise. That's a common one, right? It's working so much and then we start to neglect fitness and health. And then we start to get overweight, and then because of that, our mind and our thinking with low energy impacts that. And then the next one, drinking. What and who did they want to embody? So essentially, the transformation they were looking for, to feel confident. This by far was the top one. Now, I would just want to share, there's a big difference between external confidence, how we present ourselves, for example, driving around in a fancy car, right? Presenting ourselves in a certain way for validation, versus intrinsic confidence, true confidence, like feeling very confident in oneself because you know yourself. The next one, number 2, to feel healthy. And then the final one, and this was evenly split between feeling like a leader and also being loving. So coming into the process, now I'm going to share with you what I did and why I did it this way. So I want to wind back the clock because in my prior businesses, I had trained a lot of individuals within certain niches and different businesses. But one of the areas of my weakness, was essentially the accountability side. But they reached a tipping point, and in business, things happen so that we can actually create really great outcomes and transformations if we look at it and we say, this is a problem and I actually want to solve it. So the problem was, and I'd coached a group of male entrepreneurs through a transformational process, and part of that was coaching and also it was learning information. But when I look behind the scenes at the completion rates are about 20%. And I got really frustrated because I'm somebody that with all of my heart, through the pain that I've been through and the transformation that I've personally been through over the years, investing over $250,000 in my own personal growth and going through healing through the addictions and not drinking anymore and just becoming more conscious, calm, better communicative. That's the worst thing to say. Can't even say it about communication, right? Being healthier with communication and being a lot better with that. What I needed to change was how I guided my students through the transformation. And so I said to myself, I'm going to put together a process which has very, very high accountability because I want these individuals to get the outcome and get the transformation. Now, they're getting pieces of that if they're showing up to calls, but a lot of the training is behind the scenes in different trainings and modules, and especially when it comes to things like meditations for entrepreneurs, which can be very healing, which can really light up a lot of things within us. That's a process that they need to go through and take action on. So what I did was I set up a structure which is everyday videos with everyday exercises and a phased meditation program. So the way that the phased meditation program works is it starts off at 10 minutes and then goes through to the hour. So this had a massive transformational impact because a lot of entrepreneurs go and they start and they stop and they aren't consistent with their meditation practice. And when you're needing connection, when you struggle to communicate in a healthy way with other people, when you have addictions to things like alcohol, when you have a lot of fear in the nervous system, meditation, by far, when I looked at everything that I did and everything that I invested in, what I wanted to do was actually get my students to their first hour of meditation, but you can't do that straight away. You can't just ask an entrepreneur who, for example, hasn't started meditating or even is infrequent, doing it, say, 2 or 3 times a week. You can't just say, okay, go and do an hour's meditation. You got to phase, you got to build up. Just like when I used to be a personal trainer, you don't just go into the gym with a client and suddenly have them hitting huge weights on a squat rack because A, they're going to be in pain for a couple of weeks, but also it's not actually good for the body. So the phased meditation as a key spine and component, that was one of the top outcomes that I wanted. So now I also want to break down the stages here and have you be aware of what causes a transformation where a lot of the students are saying like, this is like 20 years of therapy in a 6-week period. So in the first stage of the process, it's called conscious lifestyle design. The purpose of that first week, every single day, is to re-establish new habits and new behaviors and start to relax the nervous system, because the nervous system impacts our thinking. So in that first week, the meditations are at 10 minutes, but we're also looking at, for example, the timeline of our life, and we're looking at, different areas of our life, and we're starting to clean up, for example, our personal environment. All of these things develop emotional intelligence, and they help for us to be clearer and to be calmer. Now, in the second week, so bear in mind they're now, around the 10, 15-minute meditation mark. In week 2, this process is called the black ball and the black ball games. Now, this by far was my biggest spiritual shift as an entrepreneur. I'd worked a lot on myself, but actually it was authentic connection games and starting to speak my truth and actually clear stuff out that really had a massive impact on me. Ed Sheeran has a great quote, and he says, in order to get my hit songs out, I got my shit songs out. And so letting go for an entrepreneur of things that have happened in the past resentments, difficult conversations, this week is difficult, but it's also a very important part of the process when it comes to the future trainings of what I'm going to talk about next. Because if you don't do that work, and you've got a lot of this stuff still in your subconscious, and you haven't cleared it out, and you haven't made those power moves and being courageous in the things that you need to talk about and open up about, then what happens is it becomes very difficult for us to start to change our beliefs and the other things to move our business forward. So this is what's called the deep work, and it's the work that most people don't want to do, but is really important. The next stage is called the belief shift. So right now, you're watching this video and you have a set of beliefs about yourself. And also there are a set of beliefs that you need to have about yourself, but you've not reached that island yet. And so you have to go through the process of changing your beliefs. And a lot of that is about how we think. So it's pointless to do that work prior to relaxing the nervous system and clearing things out, i.e. in stage 1 and stage 2, because it's going to become very difficult because essentially you're working against yourself. The next stage is called the zone of genius. Now, this is very key because it looks at emotional intelligence and it looks at what gives us energy and what takes us energy away. And that is very important because oftentimes when we do that deeper work, we truly find out how to generate more energy, which then leads to more action. And that is a big underlying theme of the meditation process and also the trainings, which is ramping up energy so that you boost confidence, so that you increase action. Think about when you're sick, your body's in survival, your body is just, needing to recover. And so it's taking up a lot of energy and therefore your thinking is not great. So when you build up energy, when you start to track and measure all of this, which I'll talk about in a moment, you start to really see amazing shifts. The next stage is called the TVP, called the Transformation Velocity Process. And this is about understanding energy when it comes to taking action in a deeper way and really eradicates procrastination, which is great. And then I move into conscious coaching skills to allow the person to then give back to their community, to their staff, with all of the things that they've learned. Now, what I'm about to share is the most important part, which going back to what I said earlier about this 20% completion rate, what I needed to do was make sure that action was taken. And I live here in Coronado, and it's where the Navy SEALs train. And I started to think about because I did a Navy SEAL training for one of my masterminds. And I started to think about, in the Navy SEALs, not everyone gets through it. And so it's like rise or fall away. And I wanted to build in really strong accountability and start to use themes from other types of organizations and implement that in a strong way. So what I did was I implemented a tracking system which tracked all different components of energy. Number 1, sleep. Number 2, exercise. Number 3, nutrition and meditation. Meditation's compulsory, that had to be completed before midday. The reason for that is that if, for example, we meditate in the afternoon, we're already essentially subject to emails, to difficult conversations, issues going on, so we're not in a calm state. And so I noticed that the initial set of clients were doing it in the afternoon, but not getting the best results. So I shifted that and moved that to compulsory to the morning, and then the results shifted, of course, because if you relax the nervous system, if you meditate in the morning, then you're going to be more clear-minded. So that was a critical part of the process. So we've got the meditation phasing, the tracking of the meditation, and also these other components. And then also building in a contract It basically says if they don't do these actions, essentially it's a lockout system with strikes that they're asked to leave. Now, what was interesting is that when the clients initially had the accountability, they didn't like it. It's not something that they were a fan of. However, as soon as they started to get locked out and they started to wake up, essentially, knowing that this could all go away, they started to shift their behaviors. Those behaviors started to become automatic. And then they got into this new, essentially, level of emotional intelligence, level of self-awareness, where that's when their businesses started to shift. Some of the students doubled their business during the program. Why? I wasn't teaching anything strategic. All I was doing was looking at all of the different areas of their lives, releasing things from the past, because when we let go, right, a balloon can't rise if there's weights holding it down. So by clearing things out, by regulating the nervous system, by becoming clear-minded, their productivity, their performance essentially 10x'd. And so then the outcome and the results, and you can see the results on my site, I'm not going to share them here, but these were very consistent. And I just recall a number of them, right? Example, in the first 7 days, better communication in relationships. That was a big benefit actually from being more calm, because a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this transition between work and then family life. So there was that. So definitely like a big shift within calm confidence within the first couple of weeks. Then also, a lot of shifts around focus, a lot of shifts around just overall well-being and health, a lot of weight loss that had happened. And also, and I was so happy about this connection, and also things like alcohol just massively reducing, right? Now these entrepreneurs starting to do fun things again, like bringing things back into their life where they had neglected those things. Yes, revenue shifting, all of these things, but it's about the shift from unconscious entrepreneur to conscious entrepreneur, right? Now they're making money, but they're also happy. They're fulfilled. Here's another one. A massive result, especially for the men in particular. Not that the women didn't benefit from this also. A massive shift from anger. Because when you're doing that amount of meditation and you're being held accountable and you're also looking at your beliefs, the way the nervous system reacts to certain situations, and basically your reaction time massively changes. And so now I had entrepreneurs who had a lot of rage, who had a lot of anger. In fact, one of the case studies shared that his hair was falling out because of the amount of stress that he was going through, and he had these fits of rage. Another of the case studies, a lawyer used to have outbursts with his clients, and now in his relationship, everyone around him is noticing the changes. And so I really want to emphasize here the impact that a stressful entrepreneur, through no fault of their own, right, things happening in their business, but when that energy essentially translates into family life, it can be very destructive and things can fall apart. And so I'm so happy for these transformations. Now, here's the great news. If you want to start this process, what I've done is I've put together a Skool group, so you can check out the link in the description. There's 2 quests which you can go through. Now, these case studies that I've spoken about, they went through 6 weeks of this process. But essentially, I've put together a taster where you can actually get some great results within a 7-day period. So what you'll do is you'll go through what's called the conscious impact experience. And that is a training. It's also a meditation to get you in a certain state. And then you'll go through a series of questions which will elevate self-awareness and give you clarity. And then the second quest is a 7-day habit-changing quest with meditations every single day. And you can go through that and you will notice, and I'll start to rewire you with the neuroplasticity where you want to get these streaks in. And there's obviously consequences for that. You've got to take action. You've got to do it every single day. And then if you want to, of course, and you get results from that and you think this is actually working, then, and you want to do a deeper dive, bear in mind it's an hour a day commitment for 6 weeks, you can move into Super High Performance Formula, which is quest 3, where you can actually start to see, the results that I've talked about during this video. But the main point and takeaway I want you to get from this video is going back to the data with the connection, the importance of this phased meditation, the importance of tracking and measuring, and the importance of accountability, however you get it. However because you have to be honest with yourself. And I had to do this too, to say my own discipline, I stop, I start, I don't complete things. And I need to seek something where I'm held to a high standard. Now, here was the interesting thing about those that completed the process, of which the reviews, most of the reviews, 8, 9, 10 out of 10, only one review, 7, just being transparent, which was after going through the process, because they have businesses and some of them have courses and trainings, they also wanted to implement a very high, no BS accountability process in their business. Because for me, when I implemented this, it actually had a massive impact on the amount of refund requests that I got, which I basically brought down to nothing because of how I structured it. And sometimes you just need to redesign things to make it better and not have fear and actually bring in really strong consequences. The other second point that I want to make, and this is from feedback from the students, is a lot of them said, now I notice the missing link, which I had not seen between my own behavior and my business. And of course, when we're in the weeds, when we're in our business, when we're just trying to figure things out, we don't think about that. We neglect these areas of our lives, and then we don't, things start to crumble, and we don't see the link between actually changing those personal habits to healthy ones, getting consistent again, getting into better routines, and what's happening in our business. So let me know in the comments what you would like to me to dive into further. And if you want to access the community or also book a call with me potentially, then you can head to simonlovell.com, and I will see you in another video. Take care.